such an asshole.
We have a wall of text, and if you send me a wall of text without paragraphs or anything, your price at least doubles. But let's go ahead and read through. I don't think there's an honest discussion about what communism would actually mean in the United States or the American context, and I have some thoughts and would love your feedback. Paragraph. I lived in post-Soviet Russia from 1993 until 2000. Basically, everyone I interacted with there was a former citizen of the Soviet Union. These people as a whole were hardworking, very well educated in the Western classics as well as their own artistic traditions, were well versed in math and science, and often spoke multiple languages and were extremely conservative on social issues. It's just not that economical, eh? What do you mean, no food? There were major problems with alcoholism and unemployment at the time, but people did whatever it took to get by, even doing substance level agriculture, if that's what it took. Most of the people I met there hated communism. However, the older generation who remembered Stalin, World War II, loved Stalin and were far less favorable to the leaders who came after him. Yeah, they have fond memories of that. They also didn't want their social pension gone. I don't believe that Americans who call themselves communists have any clue what actual communist countries like. They don't. They've never lived in one. They never visited one. They are spoiled, rich elitists, very much like the communists, the original communists in Russia and China who advocated it. Rich, preppy trust fund babies, essentially. Yeah, they don't want to work. Let's really. I don't care how long Das Kapital is. I don't care how many millions of academic research papers are produced by academia to defend socialism and taking other people's money or communism, whatever you want to. At the end of the day, it is just lazy people who don't want to work. That's it. That's all communists are. That's how they get into an actual communist system. And they say, what do you mean the gulags? What do you mean I can't just play my drums all day and go make money? Well, I don't want to be a sewer worker. No, I thought I could just play my music and then we'd all live in the no. Have you noticed how leftists tend, not all, not 100% correct, they tend to be ugly and overweight, or at least one of the others. They're not kempt, which the word is. Right? Yeah, are there jacked, ripped Democrat men who go to the, yeah, sure. They're not the majority. Most of these are lazy people who don't want to work, and they glorify it with a euphemistic term called communism or progressivism or democratic socialism. At the end of the day, they're lazy people who don't want to work. That's and consequently have no problem enslaving other people to provide them the things they need to live, like sewer systems or electricity. They're not going to go climb the poles like Thor and become a lineman. They're not going to be civil engineers and work in the sewers. They're all artsy fartsy types with no talent or they're leaders. Like, I'm going to get my degree in political science and lead. I'm going to make a change. That's it. For American communists. Russian communists, very short, brief history. Please don't correct me. I know this isn't exact, but the one thing that would have united Russians together, not only their ethnicity and history and all that, was they didn't want to be serfs anymore. It was not under the czarist. There was a common enemy, the czarist Russia. We got a better idea. Not much better, to be perfectly honest. Not much better at all. No. Here in the United States, it was, well, we were united against the British, fought for independence, and now there's no common enemy to institute a new system. And capitalism might be that. The fact you have to work, Mother Nature, reality is the enemy that is uniting an increasing amount of Americans to take a Hail Mary pass with communism or socialism. Well, we don't want to work and everything's unfair. Cry, come up with all the excuses in the world. That would unite. Their laziness unites them in the United States, and their hatred of the reality of economics, that you have to work, that's what unites them. And so I guess you guys had Tsarist Russia. We have the laws of economics reality. I don't believe that Americans who call themselves communists have any clue what actual communist countries are like. They don't. And they haven't even really thought about what a dictatorship of the working class would actually mean. In the American context, that would basically amount to making someone like Trump dictator for life and putting mega welders and contractors into positions of political power. Most of these so called communists in the United States would end up in the gulags mining for lithium in the Rockies. Yes, and let me explain that. You might know why. I had to sit and figure this out why Chris Beckloff, which you can find at the Beckloff online, he explained it. Everyone wants to be a leader. Okay, well, two things about American communists and leftists in general. None of them want to work, but all of them want to be a leader. All of them want to tell everyone how society is going to run, which puts a traffic jam at the top, which means it's the most politically conniving Machiavellian like Stalin who gets ahead and has your political, not adversaries, that'd be capitalists, your political rivals, other fellow communists. I think this is why Hitler also, what was it, the Night of the Long Knives, where he bumped off his other rival. Yeah, this is what was his name? Who was the guy that Stalin killed? The one guy. The one guy in Mexico City. Why can't I remember his name? That was a political rival. Trotsky? Was it Trotsky? And so, whereas all of these fucking lazy sacks of shit who are also egotists, egomaniacs, who are all going to lead the world, we're going to lead the new. It's like the Republic of Chaz. There was no one growing food, no one was producing any real GDP. They're all going to lead. They're all going to be sit on committees and discuss and plot out the future. And then somebody says, well, someone's got to be in charge, and I ain't going to go work a real job, and I'm going to kill and murder the rest of you. And oh, look, I got in with the military first, so all you are going to get out of here. If you open your mouths, you're in the gulags or dead. All these woke teachers trying to shove transgenderism down children's throats would end up facing a wall. When people talk about communism in the USA, they think San Francisco. Oh, I think it would even be better than, see, at least you didn't have people. Here's one difference between Russian communism and American communism, if it were to be implemented. You guys still had a culture and ethnicity. You also didn't have a shit ton of fucking money and modern day technology, which spoils people today. Which means you had to anchor yourselves to reality. If you look at communist Russia, there was some impressive shit they built. Your technology, the planes, space race. Russia, the Soviet Union, still only mustered between 25 and 33% the standards of living. But your culture, your common sense, the what else? The not even ethnic, because the Soviet Union included other ethnicities, but certainly Russia and these other ethnicities had, man and wife, husband, children, daughter, sons, mom, nuclear families. No, you don't murder. That kind. No, you're not. You're not gay this week, Trisha. Stop acting like an idiot. No, you're not pansexual, sweetheart. You're going through a phase. You're only 12. You'll know better when you're 15. So yes, there would not be a lot of. You didn't shit in the streets. You don't shit in the streets. I'm sure someone would have something to say, and it would result in punishment if you were caught shitting in the streets in Soviet Russia. I just didn't see any similarity at all between what's happening in Beijing. That's fascism. That's their economic model. They do not have communism in China. They have fascism. What's happening in San Francisco? I would compare more Pyongyang to San Francisco. And also keep in mind, you can't compare San Francisco, you can't compare that to a communist state. San Francisco is a communist municipality that sits in a quasi-capitalist socialist nation. All right. If you took all federal funding away from San Francisco, if you took state and federal funding away, like just built a wall around San Francisco, fine, then you'd have a communist nation state. And they would starve and murder each other, which I'll get to my final point, difference between American communism and Soviet communism. The Chinese communists have one of the most advanced economies in the world. They're fascist. They are not communist. While California is sinking into the ocean of the weight of its own feces. I think if people were less ignorant, most people calling themselves communists now wouldn't. And many people who think they hate communism now would be somewhat more favorable to it. Yeah, yeah, well, you're right. Americans are ignorant about economics. You know, you're right. Well, yeah, I think some people they well, wait a minute, communism. Oh, I guess I would. And then other people like, oh wait, how many people dead? Wait, it means what? It would take you. You'd have to be smart enough to think one or two steps ahead. Pointing out, well, if everybody makes the same amount of money, why would anyone excel? Why would you have doctors or engineers? Everyone would be musicians and podcasters. But there'd be no IT people or electricians or telecommunications people, so you wouldn't have the internet. It's so unfair. Uh, I think that in the American context, a dictatorship on behalf of the blue collar workers would attempt to preserve the Bill of Rights, but would basically have to re-examine most of the rest of the Constitution. Would treat antisocial leftoid behaviors like acts of treason. That's an interesting thing. You're thinking old school. This would be a difference between Soviet communism, which was for the Workers' Party, and American communism, which would be for the trust fund baby class. The Democrat Party, which would be the forerunner to the Communist Party, is not for the working people anymore. That has changed in my life. I remember when Democrats were blue collar workers and hardworking people. Now they are trust fund mental. Now, not only trust funds, that they're even going more warped to becoming mentally ill. They're becoming traitors, where absolutely everything is about the way they were born. There is not a word you cannot call the Democrat Party the Workers' Party, and the Communist Party that would be born from the Democrat Party would not be a Workers' Party. It would be nothing but the uh, effete elite. We know better, which is why I would also argue that American communism would collapse. It would collapse. We'd break down into war between different groups that Democrats have pitted in: racial, sexual, class. Um, those are the main ones. I guess gender would be, or sexual preference might be another one. There would not be, whereas in Soviet Russia, you were Russians. You had common culture, common traditions, a history, and everything like that. A so a blue well, the Soviets had a kind of a constitution too. There were rights, if I recall correctly. And if you had 1980s blue collar Democrats take over with communism, yes, there'd probably be a Bill of Rights. You would still be able to produce some things. It wouldn't be a North Korean, Cuban, Venezuelan shithole. The American communism would be your academics and your know nothings and do nothings, people who can't do anything. And once, I'm not kidding, once the electricity would be out, everyone would be at each other's throats. There are so many feuds waiting to happen right now. It would be chaos. I wouldn't even call it a civil war, as that indicates two sides. This would just be a fucking everyone for themselves complete. And I'm not familiar with the Yugoslavian collapse, but there were multiple factions in there. I think you wouldn't have it wouldn't happen. It would just be everyone killing each other. It would be horrible. And then from the ashes would arise not even a phoenix, just but a meek few people that made it out of there alive. You have to start all over again. Basically re-examine constitution. So there'd be no constitutional protect. No, no. It would treat antisocial leftoid behaviors like the acts of treason and child abuse that they are. I think this sort of communism is probably not avoidable. You're not. I disagree. I don't think you're going to get to that quasi-functional, quasi-sane, blue-collar, worker-led communism in the United States. We don't have workers. We got a bunch of whiny little bitches. That's it. That's the Democrat. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me the Democrat Party isn't a bunch of whiny little bitches. Because the Republican Party, Republicans aren't going to bring in socialism. Have you ever seen? Oh, what was it? Look, San Francisco would be a good place, but I think it was the Democrat Socialists. They had their meeting, and people kept worrying about their pronouns and being unaddressed in their feelings. No, no, they wouldn't last a year. They would not last a year. Uh, I think this sort of communism is probably not avoidable and would be more desirable than the alternative of Bill Gates and Larry Finks of the world continuing to shape the world according to their satanic antisocial whims. Yeah, and ultimately they're naive, white collar, no real work whims. What do you think the odds are of communism being tried in the US? And do you think that looks more like Stalin, more like AOC? And how long do you think either would last? Um, it would it wouldn't it would be its own very unique America. I don't it would look more like AOC than Stalin. It would last a year before they themselves, who ultimately wouldn't lead and be able to keep the economy functioning, just to keep food going on. Uh, and certainly there were what are they called? Where people starve because there's not enough food. Famines. There'd be a famine because you're fucking with essentially the it's not just the economy, but more importantly, the supply chain of food to the people. Farmers be like, "Fuck you, we're not feeding you." They're just like, "Nope." You'd have a lot of Americans locked down. A lot of Americans have guns. Cox Communications. All right, we're back. Thank you for that intermission with the shitty internet from the internet. You want to know? Here's big prediction. You know who would be in charge of the internet in a communist America? It'd be Cox Internet, and it would be even worse than what it is now, if you can imagine it. It would be a very short-lived thing, descending into anarchy and chaos in about a year. Because your leftists today, none of them have worked any real jobs. They have no leadership ability. They might have leadership, but leadership for what? Being whiny little. Seriously, what do they do except whine and complain and bitch all the time and avoid work? It- in other words, the workers' revolution, they were workers. They'd work. You have a trust fund, spoiled brat, suburbanite pussy. What would the American Communist Revolution, spoiled trust fund, suburbanite pussies of the world unite? Obama, not that he was a communist, but he's a Democrat. I'd say he's a socialist, but the guy worked 6 months in his entire life before he joined politics. Biden hasn't worked at all. Go look at his history. He played football in college. Ocasio-Cortez, I think, worked 18 months or maybe only 6 months as a waitress. And if you look at them try to function, and go watch San Francisco people dancing at their city council. These people can't manage anything. And they're so lazy. You would have, Chris Beckloff said, what is it? It ends with one person banging a skull on a pile of skulls. That's how it would end. It would be, King of the Hill. When you were kids, you play King of the Hill, get a snow, they pile up the snow. You play King of the Hill, you try to throw it. That's what it'd be King of the Hill, except it'd be a pile of skulls, and it'd be the strongest leftist left. And there'd be no, because they'd all kill each other. Because I don't care how much brothers in arms the modern day American communist is, their fear of working is stronger than any allegiance they have to their best communist friends or the cause. They will kill each other. They will, because they're not going to go work. They're not going to go toil in the fields. They're not even going to do basic structure like, okay, we got to organize. We need to set up units. We got to, and how are we going to incentivize? No one's, criticize Stalin all you want, which is a lot to criticize. The guy wrote a paper, he did a lot of research on how pricing would exist within a communist economy. Now, I say that's impossible, but neither here nor there. He knew, like, look, we got to get price. There has to be a way to convey and measure profits. Right? He was at least you could say about Stalin is he was industrious. A psychopathic murderer, but he was industrious. A lot of trial and error, but was industrious. Ocasio-Cortez, what does she know how to do? The ladies that broke the glass by the Magna Carta, look at them. What are their teachers? The preachers. I'd imagine that back in the day, there were actual workers in the Communist Party, 1917, 1918, that did, there was soldiers, things like that. Again, weak, spoiled, leftist, suburbanite pussies of the world unite. Or if you had a ton of government money, barrio, ghetto, trailer park, whatever. Welfare, lazy welfare, pot smoking, Adderall addicted, losers of the world unite. I want to pass free pot, man. That wouldn't last a year. Wouldn't last a year. And then after that fell apart, then the only way it could kind of come in is you'd have to have like a military dictatorship. That'd be the only vector or catalyst. Okay, the military at least has some people that know how logistics work. If you captured that, then you could enforce slavery on everybody else. But I don't know where you're going to get, really, where you're going to get electricity. And there's a lot of Americans with a lot of guns going to say, fuck you. So there, that's how. Do I think it's going to, yeah, I do believe we're going to go through the easy times. We are going to go through a little experiment with communism. I believe so. Don't think it'll happen in my time. We'll gradually gravitate towards it. Look at government spending to GDP. We'll gradually get there. But a no-joke dictatorship headed up by modern-day leftists, crying out loud, they're worrying about straws going into turtle noses. I no. All right, let's go to the super chats and have ourselves a treat. Let me scroll up, make sure I don't miss them all. Alex Patino, a truck driving Latino agent in the field. Yeah, you think Alex is going to wake up and drive at 3 a.m. and drive truck if he's just not making any money? Leon Trotsky was in exile in Mexico. Stalin said a professional deletion expert and assisted Trotsky in deletion. Yes, thank you. Urban Hermit, $2. Is nobody going to mention mass graves? Carlin knew. How long do you want the thing to be, Urban? We could talk days about how communism is horrible, killed more people in peacetime than Nazis did in their best years of war. I know it, you know it, my audience knows it. It's leftist and Democrat people who need to know it, but they know everything, and and we're just a bunch of racists or sexist, whatever they call people they disagree with. Alex Patino, $5. The Yugoslavian collapse was mostly due to ethnic wars, which still continue. Add language differences, throw Christianity and Islam viola. Yeah, I knew it. See, that's more what I think an American communism is going to look like. Would be a collapse where you get your Texans like fuck you, and you got immigrants are like fuck you, and then you got I don't know, snooty leftist elitists, fuck you, and they wouldn't even get the U out because they wouldn't be able to. They'd be the first to go because not because anyone's coming after. They'd be killing each other. Portlanders in Seattle. Could you imagine? Well, we did. We had the Republic of Chaz. There you go. Scrolling. Keep those doggies scrolling. Urban Hermit, $5. Everybody misinterprets Machiavelli's Prince. Apparently, Stalin loved that book, but it's obvious he also misinterpreted it. Just finished reading. I haven't read it. Yeah, I think Stalin misinterpreted a lot of things. Europe would hate American communism. We would stop being their defense department, and they would have to cut the benefits of war for war. It, like I said, American communism would. I mean, yeah, it'd be a good thing. It would last about a year, but it would. Most people would be dead by the end of it. Biscuit, $5. I just found out women don't really like men as much. Hey, welcome to the party, pal. What if Altus is the first to discover this? Fucking Dre. Dre Hood, I tricked me. Good one, Dre. Touche. Dre got me to watch that video. I did a response video, and then not all, but what if Altus, all of his little, oh my god, it's so sad, like the actual virgin towels. Not that his points aren't real or they, but oh my god, everything's horrible. Oh my god, I can't believe you're going so hard on him. Then I looked the guy up. I'm like, oh my god. Just I'm not even just yeah, okay, man. Just figure it out. That was there we go. We got all of them. All right, that's it. Link below. I don't know why I got link below. Take a look. Go outside and play. Go have sex. Be good looking. Go have sex with good looking people. That's what will piss off the communists the most. It will. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.